Hi, I just want to say hello to everybody and to give you an introduction of what's going to happen to you this weekend. I'm going to talk about how you're going to use your virtual babies, but I'm also going to explain more about what's expected of you over the weekend. Right, your virtual babies. Now, I'm not sure if they've been handed out to you yet, but when you get them, you're going to notice how heavy they are. They're actually only 7 pounds in weight, but they feel much heavier than that because the majority of the electronics is in the body of the baby, which means that the weight hasn't been evenly distributed. So it actually feels much heavier than 7 pounds. Now, some of the rock modes are up to 40 minutes long, which means that you're rocking one of these babies for 40 minutes and your arm can get very tired. The other thing you'll notice when you get your baby is the baby's head. Now, like real babies, what we have to do with these babies is support their heads. And it's really important to do that because every time their head falls back and it's not supported, the baby will cry in pain. And everything that happens with the baby is recorded on the care reports. So it's really important when you pick up the baby, support the baby's head. When you hand the baby to somebody, make sure you support the head, because that's going to be the most important thing that you're going to have to do over the weekend, as well as the other things. So let me explain to you. Once your babies switch on, your first night that's been programmed, you're going to probably have about 3 hours of sleep and then about 1 hour's worth of activity, because your first night we've programmed a newborn baby. So we're going to give you an idea of what it's like with a newborn. The second night is going to be a bit easier because what you'll be doing is getting probably 4 hours sleep, much more sleep. And the third night is going to be easier still because we've programmed an 8-week-old baby. So with a bit of luck, you might be getting 6 hours sleep. So that's what's expected of you. Now, how do the babies work? Well, the teacher is going to put these IDs on your wrist and she's going to attach it with a tamper-proof wristband. And this is important because these IDs that come with your baby only work with your baby. So once they're on your wrist, they work with only your baby. These IDs are waterproof, so you can shower and bath with the IDs in place. Ideally, we want you to come back to school on Monday with these IDs still on your wrist so the teacher can cut them off. So once the IDs are in place and the wristbands attached, these IDs work with your baby. This is a bit like your mummy or daddy tag. This is what the baby responds to. Every time the baby cries, you've got to say to the baby, "I'm here." And you do that by putting the ID about 6-7 inches away from the baby's tummy. And it's wireless, so the baby will pick up the ID and the baby will chime. Then you've got to find out why the baby's crying. Well, it could be that the baby needs a feed. So it's a bottle or the breastfeeding device to the baby's mouth. And if the baby wants a feed, it will stop crying and will make little glugging noises. But if the baby keeps crying, then it's not a feed, and it could be that it's a burp. Burp would be gentle pats on the back of the baby, not too loud, that's too noisy, gentle pats, and if it is a burp that the baby wants, it will stop crying and will make little contented noise. But if the baby keeps on crying, then it's not a burp, and it could be that the baby needs a nappy change. If it's a nappy change, you take the existing nappy off. In this case, it's the yellow tabbed one, and you replace it with the other nappy, which is the green tab one. Put it in place, and if you notice, I'm putting it at the baby's bottom, rests on the colour. Put the nappy in place, and if it is a nappy change that the baby wants, then the baby will make a little cooing noise. But if the baby is still crying, and you've tried a feed, and you've tried a burp, and you've tried a nappy change, and it's still crying, then it could be that it needs a rock. And in that case, it's gentle rock, up and down. Baby likes to be in your arm, and it also likes to have its position change. So keep rocking the baby. There is one other thing that the babies do, because sometimes we have fussy babies, and what fussy babies want is nothing at all. They just want to be fussy. So you can have a baby that cries, you can put your ID in place, the baby will chime, but it doesn't matter what you try, the baby is just fussy. Now in your case, it's only going to be fussy for 2 minutes. So that's quite handy that, but it's something to bear in mind that the babies are sometimes fussy. Now what I'm going to do is switch the babies on, and I'm going to put them in demonstration mode so that you can hear the different cries, because to help you, the babies make different requests. Each request for care has a different cry to it, and I'm going to try and explain to you now the different cries. So I'm going to put my control unit on now. This is demonstration mode. The babies are only going to be on for 30 seconds. This is not like when you've got your virtual babies. Yours will be crying for much longer. Now this demonstration is going to be for a feed. Now as soon as the baby starts crying, I'll let the cry build up a bit. It's important to respond to the baby quickly. I'm going to say I'm here. Put the ID to the baby's tummy. Baby's chimed, that's good. Now I can give the care that the baby needs. Now the cry for a feed is very insistent. I'm going to let the cry build up for you. This is nothing, it gets louder. We're getting there? Okay. As soon as I put the bottle to the baby's mouth, it stops crying and it makes these little glugging noises. Now the baby tells me when it's had enough. I keep the bottle in place until the baby said to me, thank you, I've had a feed, and I get a coo in thanks. So that's what the cry is for feed, a very insistent cry, and the coo is your reward at the end of it. Now, I'm going to give you an idea of what a burp is like. The cry for a burp is a bit niggledy. I'm not very happy. And like with the demonstration for feeding, as soon as the baby cries, I have to put my ID in place of the tummy. I'm holding it in place, the baby's chimed. Now I can give the care that the baby wants. Now I know this baby needs a burp. The cry is a I'm going to give gentle pats to the shoulder blade. That is too loud. Gentle pats. Rubbing is good, but gentle pats. The baby will make sort of contented noises. Now I'm going to see if you can hear the burp, because you get rewarded at the end of this with a beautiful burp. So this is good. This is a content baby, happy to be burped. And that's your burp. Well done, baby. Now, what I want to do is give you a demonstration of a nappy change. The best way I can describe the cry for a nappy change is that the baby sounds as though it's pushing out its poop. Bear with me, I'll explain to you and then you can hear. As you take your baby out, because you need your bottle and your spare nappy, you must take them with you all the time, otherwise the baby won't work. Now the baby started to cry. Let me just let you hear the cry again. Listen, it sounds as though it's pushing. Push. Right, I have to say I'm here. Mummy says she's here. I take off the old nappy. This is very lucky, there's no poop on this. You don't actually have to wash the baby either. I'm replacing it with the yellow nappy. And as soon as I've done that, the baby gives me a coo to say thank you very much. You get a coo at the end of a feed, at the end of a rock, at the end of a nappy change, and you get a burp at the end of a burp. Now, the same thing about rock. The cry for rock and burp is very similar. So I'm going to demonstrate a rock now. And again, I have to put the ID in place. Every time the baby cries, I have to say I'm here. Baby will chime. Chime is important. Chime is saying, I recognise you as my mum. That's great, thank you. Now you've got to take care of me. Now the rock, supporting the head, all the time, supporting the head. Gentle rocking, gentle rocking. Again, like the burp, the cry is a sort of a content cry. If I was doing the wrong thing now, the baby would start to make more cries. As I said, the electronics inside the baby like to have the position changed. So, change the position of the baby and keep moving all the time. And you'll be rewarded with a coo at the end of a rock. So we've done the feed and the burp and the rock and the nappy change. I've explained to you that the baby can be fussy. I've explained that you need to always support the baby's head, otherwise everything that the baby happens to gets recorded. Now one of the things I need to explain is that when we have the ID, we need to get this ID to the baby within 2 minutes. And then we need to give the care that the baby needs a further 2 minutes. Otherwise, a neglect is going to be recorded. Everything you do is going to be on the software, and this software prints out a report, and you get this with your name on it. So it's important that you look after the baby. In this particular case, the baby's had an abuse shutdown because the head has gone back more than 23 times. The baby will also record whether it's been shaken, roughly handled, or whether it has been in a wrong position. So everything you do, you've got to be very careful and make sure you do a good job of looking after the baby. All the good care that you give to the baby is also recorded. But when I said to you earlier about supporting the baby's head, it's really important that you do that. I want to let you hear now what actually happens when the baby's in pain. Because if you let the baby's head fall back, then this is what you'll hear. The cry for this is completely different, and when it happens, all you have to do is rock the baby until it stops crying. Now I'm going to let that baby's head fall back, and you're going to hear the cry for pain. Right, I let the demonstration last for the full 30 seconds. That was just 30 seconds. If you let your baby's head fall back, or if it gets hurt, or if it falls off the bed or something like that, then the baby will cry like that. You only get 23 opportunities to let the baby cry like that, which I actually think is quite a lot. Any more than 23, then your baby will just automatically shut down. So an abuse shutdown will get recorded on your software. So it's important to make sure that you look after the baby. As a lighter note, the babies make little noises. So over the weekend, you're going to hear little noises in the middle of the night, like little coughs and little coos. Now, one thing that students always ask me is, because the baby's eyes don't close, how do you know when your baby's asleep? Well, it's too difficult on this video to actually let you hear the noises that the baby makes. But when the baby actually is asleep, if you put your head over the cot, you will hear that the baby makes little breathing noises. So first of all, that's how you can tell if your baby's asleep. If you put your head over the cot and there's no breathing noises, it could be that your baby is awake but just quiet. Now, if you want the reassurance to know that your baby is still operating, you might have thought it's quiet for a bit, it's coming up for Sunday, is the baby still on? To reassure you, to find out that your baby is still working, you can do this. This is to reassure you that your baby's still working. If, holding the baby's head, I gently tip the baby upside down and I get this cooing, coughing noise, that's reassuring me that the baby's program is on and that my baby is quiet just because it's quiet. If I tip the baby upside down and nothing happens, that's the baby's program shut down. Now, it might have shut down for a number of reasons. It could be because it's the end of the program. But if you tip your baby and there's no noise, then your baby is off, switched off then, and then you can be sure that you don't have to take care of it anymore. So, that's your virtual baby. Just to recap, every time the baby cries, you have to get your ID to the baby within 2 minutes. You then have to give the care that the baby needs, feed, rock, burp, nappy change, within a further 2 minutes, otherwise a neglect on the software will be recorded. You have to support the baby's head to make sure it doesn't fall back, and you make sure that the baby's not hurt in any way, otherwise it will record rough handling. And that's about it. You've got a busy weekend ahead of you. As I said, you might get 3 hours sleep tonight. You're going to have a good weekend, and bring your babies back in on Monday, and we'll post out the reports to you as soon as the babies come back to the office. And all I can say is you're going to be, all of you, great parents and have a great experience.